Today on the Region Free Gamers podcast, we're talking Fire Emblem, Rocket Slime, Ratchet and Clank, and more.
Welcome to the Region Free Gamers podcast, everybody. I'll be your host, Arnie. And today we're gonna do probably my favorite kind of episode. Honestly, it's our I want to say like monthly iteration of what have you been playing. And I fucking love these. They're really nice. They're so good. Like everything we do. And if you want to hear more of this nice like podcast, this nice audio, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. And wherever you go, just leave us a review. Like, that's the best thing you can do. Leave us a comment. Tell us how much you love us. All that stuff. Just it's good for the podcast, but more importantly, it makes me personally feel really good. And I think
really puts a spring in my step every single time.
Yes, and that's what we need to be shooting for. And joining me today on this lovely podcast, out of the frozen tundra of the Netherlands, where it's currently, we've got, what are we at, 5 centimeters of snow?
Yeah, the max 6.
It's Geoff.
Right, boys.
6 centimeters? That's like 15% more snow than you advertised earlier. That's a ton.
And out of the hot, summery lands of Canada, Paul, who currently has 0 centimeters of snow on the ground.
Now, before I make a comment, I can't remember if you actually mentioned Geoff's name. You said
did.
Frozen Tundra. You did? Okay, all right, cool. I guess I should listen when you're talking. We have a running joke at work whenever...
I'm going to yell it into the microphone.
ASM it for me, please.
We have a running joke at work whenever a pilot... So we talk to pilots at work, and whenever a pilot doesn't sound sure, like they'll say something like, Foxtrot Golf Sierra ready for taxi? Every once in a while, they'll kind of like end it like a question, and immediately, all my coworkers, we all say the exact same thing. I'm Ron Burgundy? Every single time without fail. I'm Ron Burgundy?
Are you
So
the kind of people where they're like, the pilots come in and they're like, like, can I land? And you're like, I don't know, can you?
Dude, we would love to say that, but there's several like canned responses that we would love to say every single time, but we can't. The only reason I brought that up is because right at the top you were like, I'm your host, Arnie? The first thing I thought was, I'm Ron Burgundy?
I'm honestly just waiting for you to like execute a coup and remove me as host at any moment. That's why I'm always unsure of my position.
Don't give him ideas.
These violent Canadians, man.
It's the first thing the Canadians go for. It really is. Yep. That's what they're well known for. Their coup d'etats.
It's a French word, man. We're half French.
Oh, Lord. Happy Super Bowl day, everybody. Before I forget, the most important day of the year, where we violently push people against each other for 3 hours, while we watch like terrible MasterCard commercials.
But is it going to be, obviously over here in Europe, we know if you're into your sport, we've all heard of Super Bowl. Even probably my parents have heard of it by now.
Yeah.
But the whole Super Bowl party, which is what's famous, are you guys going to be having a party, or is it going to be a big bowl of Doritos on your own?
I'm having a party
fingers?
of 2. So it's me and my girlfriend. We're going to stand we're planning on standing the regulated 6 feet away from each other the entire time. Just to, to be safe.
You're doing the Amish marriage Super Bowl viewing party?
Exactly. But no, there is people are saying we might get another COVID surge because people are like, everybody's having Super Bowl parties.
Of course you are.
Yep.
There's no question that's going to happen.
Yep.
I don't know, man. A small gathering I think is okay, but then again, it depends on where you live, right?
I just love that it's like Thanksgiving, Christmas, the Super Bowl. It really is it really is like it should be a federal holiday in this country. Like the day after the Super Bowl, no work gets done. Like productivity in this country must drop like 70% because everybody's so hungover and bloated from eating like 7-layer dip the entire day.
Yes.
There's no reason we should work after the Super Bowl. Tom Brady making his 10th Super Bowl appearance, not for the Patriots, so I'm not mad. I think it's funny, actually. I'm not angry.
So this is the existential question then for New Englanders, which is the polite term we use. Like, what is the feeling? Is the feeling hooray for Tom Brady or fuck that guy?
I think most people are rooting for Tom. Because we get to go on the internet and say, we had him first. I told you he's the GOAT. Your team sucks. General things we get to go on the internet and tell people after he inevitably wins. Because Patrick Mahomes, like, blows out both his knees in, like, the first quarter. It's what we do. It's what we do. We love it. It's great.
Oh, but you gotta get whatever you can get right now, right? To have a bit of fun, bit of enjoyment.
You have to. There is nothing that New Englanders will not suck the joy out of for somebody else. You know, like if people in Tampa are very happy right now, we will latch onto that and slowly, you know, excise all the joy and happiness out of their lives. And they need to understand that's what they signed up for when they took Tom Brady.
Yep.
Yes.
No, it's like we have it here with Man United celebrate anything Ronaldo does. It's just like, because we signed him first. It's like, congratulations. Like, that means that, you know, like you get to like, well, we developed him into the player he is today. So, you know, I think he would have done that anyway.
Yeah,
I think no matter where he went, he was going to be the world's best player. So, you know.
Yeah.
No, that's wrong. Had he not ingested the smog of New England for 20 years, he would not be
Brady,
the player that he is today. But moving on to the actual episode. Now you've got me in my head where I'm like, and I want to end everything like a question. You fucked me up so bad. And actually, speaking of which, Paul, we're going to start with you, because I feel like you always get a pass. You always get to go later when everybody else has already had to speak their piece. So why don't you tell me the first game that you've been playing recently?
All right. So the first game, playing is a generous word for what I've been doing with this game. It's I've been more kind of fighting the addiction, you know, so to speak. It's
you and your addictive games. Jeez.
Dude,
you pick them, don't you? You pick them.
I do. I don't mean to, really. I don't. But every once in... So the one that I'm going to talk about here is Oxygen Not Included, which I've been playing off of Steam.
Okay. What is this? An oxygen management simulator that you're going to get me addicted to for 70 hours?
Probably more Geoff than you, because I would say Oxygen Not Included is this year's Factorio for me.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh my god. Is it multiplayer? Because it's...
No,
I love sharing the pain. No.
I know. That's the thing. Like, part of the magic of Factorio, at least for you, from what I understand, is that you played it with a buddy of yours. You both played it for the first time. And the only thing better than experiencing magic is experiencing magic with a friend. Right? Because then you have the magic of the game and the magic of friendship.
Yeah, nothing better. The only thing better than a suicide is a murder-suicide. It's great.
Wow. Man, Arnie, it's a little dark, buddy.
I can't help but be angry at you every time you bring a new game up, because inevitably, like a parasite, one of us will become addicted to it.
There's a long list,
and then it'll be our game of the year at the end of the in January, and you'll be like, "I'm so great at video games."
But I was already doing that
as you work your 2 suspenders that you wear constantly.
But so I went through like all the games I played, right? And I was thinking, which ones am I going to talk about? And I'm thinking, no, Paul did that first. He spoke about that last year. So again, that bastard, that bloody bastard.
I'm sorry.
He's been influencing me.
I am being overly mean to you, Paul. I apologize.
No, not at all. Probably not enough. To be fair, last year, I got hooked on Moonlighter. Not for as long as Oxygen Not Included.
Yeah.
But that was an Arnaldo joint.
Yep.
I played Kododama, The Seven Mysteries of Fujisawa, for a solid 20 minutes. Really got into that one. That's an Arnie joint. So, it's a two-way street.
Yeah. We poison each other.
Yes, exactly. Anyhow, so Oxygen Not Included. Arnie, you're not too far off in saying it's an oxygen management sim.
God damn it.
So the premise of the game is that you are shepherding a colony of people that have woken up inside of an asteroid. And the goal of the game is to develop your colony, develop technology. And I actually haven't finished the game yet, so I'm assuming that, like Factorio, it ends when you build a rocket ship and can finally get off the asteroid. I suspect that that's what the end is. I wish I could tell you that after a embarrassing amount of hours put into the game that I finished it, but I can't.
Not what I thought it was, honestly.
What did you think it was?
I thought you were going to be like, so you're in a human body and you build conveyor belts to bring hydrogen and oxygen together into people's lungs.
While that would make for a fascinating game, I love this premise, Arnie. You know me very well. That is not Oxygen Not Included. Oxygen Not Included, if I was to compare it to anything, it would probably be closest to like RimWorld or Dwarf Fortress.
Okay.
It has aspects of Factorio where you need to kind of like, mine one thing and then combine it with another thing in order to make another like more advanced thing. And then the advanced thing gets combined with another advanced thing, and then they create super advanced thing. There's that whole aspect to it as well.
Yeah.
But the other aspect is when you're mining through your colony, you're getting to other, like, the best way to describe them are biomes. Like, there's a frozen biome inside the asteroid where everything's super cold. And then there's, like, a chlorinated one where there's a lot of chlorine or hydrogen or what have you, right? And then what happens is all these different gases, the carbon dioxide, the hydrogen, the chlorine, they all kind of get mixed together. And what you have to do is you have to use your tech to kind of make sure that your colonists are okay and that they have enough oxygen to breathe while they're doing their research, while they're farming, because they need to eat and they need bedrooms in order to sleep, because otherwise they just sleep on the ground. And then when they wake up, they have sore backs. I'm not even kidding. They're less productive. They're less happy. Happy people are productive people, right? So that's kind of how it works. It's on a 2D plane. Okay. So your characters are moving left to right, up and down as they kind of mine through the colony and explore it and kind of build their little base.
I saw a screenshot. It reminded me of that Fallout Shelter iOS game. Kind of reminded me like the layout of that, if I had to kind of picture it in my mind.
That is exactly the layout. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So yeah, it's a really interesting game, and it gets extremely complex, right? Like you have these, you have to. I mean, people need water, right? Mm-hmm. And you need water for all your various tasks. So you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to pipe water from this location to this machine that dispenses water? Oh wait, my base is getting really hot because at the bottom of the asteroid there's magma, and eventually heat just kind of starts like getting up. So okay, how am I gonna? It does rise, right? And 40 degrees is not suitable for colonists. You gotta manage that shit, right? So then you're like, okay, well, how do I pipe this water into the frozen biome through my machine that cools water, and then how do I pipe it through my base so that it cools the base down?
Nice. Same thing with. This sounds good.
Yeah. Same thing with. I don't know if you're joking or not, and I don't care.
Both of you just want to be general managers at like a convenience store.
I love middle management. I love seeing how things can be more efficient. I've realized in life, it's
true.
Great. Wow.
It's very
I don't
Dutch
know
of
why.
you, honestly. It's very German of you, actually.
Oh, even worse.
Yeah. But it's the same thing with ventilation, right? Like you have to create a ventilation system so that you can take all the crappy air out of your base, move it elsewhere where it's more useful, while keeping the oxygen in and producing more oxygen. Because the people don't produce oxygen, right? They produce carbon dioxide, as we're all well aware. Science.
Biology. To get specific. Yeah.
So yeah, like eventually you're kind of building these like super complex ventilation systems. Then you have to start like farming petroleum in order to create jetpacks for your people so they can explore outside the asteroid, which by the way looks hilarious. Like the aesthetic of the game, it's kind of like this like ugly cute Binding of Isaac kind of aesthetic.
Okay.
And so, when your people put on their little jetpacks and they're flying around outside, they look hilarious. They just do, right? It's a pleasure for the most part to look at these people. It's also a pleasure when they get really angry. Every once in a while, like you might accidentally lock a colonist out of the base, right? This has happened to me. I'm like, sometimes you need to lock. Yeah, sometimes you need to lock a door because there's too much carbon dioxide getting through, and you're like, all right, I don't want these idiots using this door anymore. Oh wait, there's someone outside. I forgot about him. When they can't get back in, they get really angry and they get frustrated and they start like hitting their head on the walls. And there's a lot of these little touches in it. It looks really cute. Yeah. Very enjoyable to look at. Wildly addictive.
So so I have quite a few questions, Arnie. I don't know if you want to, I have a long list. That
I have one question.
Go for it.
And my one question is this sort of level based? Like, do you go from level to level just like, now you have to do this thing? Or is it sort of a continuous thing where you build up your base, like, continuous. To be more and more complicated? Right. Okay.
Yeah, continuous.
That sounds a little bit more fun, that I don't have to start from the beginning every single time.
Yeah, it's not like a theme park.
No. You have to start from the beginning. Yeah. Like, if you're starting a new base, you're starting a new base. Like, right from the beginning, but
it's just one base to the game end.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah. There, you don't have to, like, finish a base and then build a new one. No, that's ridiculous.
So then, have you got? So I guess you're on an asteroid. So I guess you're not going to get any additional people arrive to say, "Let me into your base because I'm stranded," or do you get people who like, "Let me in because your base grows. You need more people to help manage."
What happens is, it's a good question. What happens is, right at the beginning of the game, you have this replicator. Think of a replicator from Star Trek, right?
Nice. Yep.
Except that it can also produce people. So so the game goes in cycles. Your people are awake, they work, and then they go to sleep, and that's a cycle, right? Every 3 cycles, your replicator gets fully powered up, and then it either spits out a person or a random item. The thing is,
I wouldn't like that. That doesn't sound like a replicator I'd want humanity to produce.
Certainly
Here's
not.
A replicator. We don't know what's going to come out of it. It's a lottery. All right, so like a suicide, like a maniacal Jason style murderer gets generated. Oh, thanks.
Here's a new virus.
Thank you. Yeah.
So yeah, you can, at the beginning of the game, you're kind of mostly replicating people, but you got to be careful. You can't replicate too many people because then you're going to have problems feeding them. You're going to have problems with them. You have to build enough bathrooms. It sounds stupid, but you have to build enough bathrums or else the people start wetting themselves and they produce polluted water. And
so you are managing, you kind of by process of you are kind of managing the people through this.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're making sure. Okay.
It
so
sounds like a combo of like The Sims and like Roller Coaster Tycoon type stuff. But
that's a really good comparison.
But a sci-fi version
of it.
Yeah, like Dwarf Fortress and RimWorld, while the closest analogs are not as well known as The Sims Roller Coaster Tycoon, so your description is much more accessible while still being kind of accurate.
I'm angry at myself that I'm even considering looking at this because I know what's gonna ensue.
Yeah, it's gonna really kind of it's gonna take over. Your relationship will suffer.
Yeah.
but you guys are already 6 feet apart at all times.
It's going to be worse than that, because what's going to happen is I'm going to play it, I'm going to think I'm good at it, and then you're going to be like, oh, it's taken you 70 hours to build a toilet? I built it in 2 hours, because Paul's just better at video games than I am.
While you are correct, that's not necessarily how it would work out here. Even I have been humbled by Oxygen Not Included, where I built a base, and then about, I'm going to say 30 hours in, I had to give up on it. I was like, you know what? I have messed up too many times. I did not know how to play this, and I have to start over. I didn't do that with Factorio. With Factorio, we just started and we just, I say we. Who the fuck was I playing with? I just started it, and I just kept going.
The royal we.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do. I mean, because I did that with Factorio with my friend. We did kind of after 20 odd hours, we realized we've made some fundamental problems for ourselves here.
Yes.
We could either unbuild it all and start again, or we could just start from scratch and just don't make these mistakes. And we're like, yeah, let's just start from scratch. And then it got us, it took us half the amount of time to get to the same point.
Yes.
So it was
and
it was well invested time.
This is what I should have done, Geoff, with Factorio. Instead, I set out to renovate instead of rebuild, and it took way, way longer. Like, I should have just rebuilt.
I'm going to ban mentions of Factorio from this podcast.
The difference between Oxygen Not Included and Factorio, though, is that with Oxygen Not Included, you are... Like, with Factorio, the only punishment you have for messing up your base layout is inefficiency. Realistically, right? It just kind of makes
unless
things...
you've got like a bug problem, but absolutely.
Yeah, unless you have a bug problem, then it's a real With Oxygen Not Included, the punishment for messing up your base layout and not knowing how to play is that your people just start dying, and then your colony eventually dies off, right?
Because that's what I was going to ask. Like, what's the feeling of jeopardy that you have for it? Do you often get moments where you're like, if I don't sort out this carbon monoxide leak, I'm making things up.
Yes.
Or if I don't level out my oxygen to carbon dioxide, I've got problems. Is it
That's going to happen the first time you play. Problems are going to creep up, and you're not going to know how to deal with them. And eventually your people just kind of either start overheating or suffocating, and you're like, oh my god, what do I do about this? And then the next time, you'll be able to prevent these things from happening very, very long in advance. Because the kind of problems that Oxygen Not Included presents are the kind of problems where if they are bad, it's bad.
It's like a cascade of errors. If you let one thing get out of hand, then it's just...
Yeah, and you have to kind of like really plan ahead. It's not the kind of game where you can react easily to disaster. It's a game where you are really trying to actively prevent it and using kind of what you know about the mechanics to do so, right? Yeah. Even on my second playthrough, like I still made huge mistakes just because like the game, one thing about the game is that it doesn't do a good job of explaining the mechanics at all. So there's a lot of, unless you want to go online and look, which I mean, more power to you if you don't enjoy wasting your time like I do. For me, it was more like, well, I'm just going to experiment with this thing. And then it's like, oh my God, that was a disaster. You know what I'm saying? And how am I going to ever recover from that, right? Like I let this volcano get out of hand and now everything's overheating and it's just like, oh dear God.
So my last question, Paul, is around, obviously now you've got extensive experience in knowing how filtering systems, coolant systems, oxygen systems work. When you sit down and watch movies like Alien, Interstellar, Star Wars, are you going to go, they've got an oxygen problem if they don't fix X, Y, or Z's vents? Or, like
your
when they say...
Your mistake is assuming that he doesn't currently do that.
Dude, I can't look at a conveyor belt anymore without thinking of Factorio. I really can't. And I'll bet the same is true for you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not going to factories too often. But I mean, I was just thinking because the amount of times you watch sci-fi and they talk about, we've got a coolant leak or a leak, or we've got an oxygen leak. And well, if I was on an asteroid and there'd be an oxygen leak, I'd have to do X, Y, and Z. Whereas all they do is they just press a few buttons and go, oh, it's fixed. It's like, nah, not that easy.
No, it's not that easy. It involves far more mouse clicking and sweating than you would expect. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Paul's
So,
looking like the
that's-
pilot during Airplane, where he's just wiping off like gallons of sweat.
Anyhow,
I was going to
so-
ask Paul, because I feel like sometimes we talk about these games and we don't really tell people how they can get them. I'm assuming this is a Steam game that you're playing.
Yeah. I mentioned that right off the top, but it was
Okay.
quick. But yeah, it's on Steam. It's not the kind of game I think that will ever come out on a console. It really, really requires a mouse to kind of, there's a lot of click and drag. Like, I'm going to mine this area for this mineral and this organic substance. And so you kind of click and drag, create a rectangle. You know what I mean? It's even less playable on a console than an RTS would be. Like, an RTS is way better on a computer than a console.
Yeah.
This game, almost impossible, I would say, to play on a console. So, don't expect the Nintendo Switch port for Oxygen not included. The company that made it, Clay, I don't know how to, it's KLEI.
Okay.
They're based out of Vancouver. They have quite the pedigree. I don't think they're necessarily averse to making console games. They're mainly PC games. Like, they've made Don't Starve, Invisible Ink.
Okay.
Fuck, there was another one too that was also really popular as well.
Don't Starve, I've heard of. Like, I know
exactly.
that one.
And Griftlands, the one that Geoff recommended to me. Yeah, so their games are really well received.
James loves that goddamn game.
And they're not averse to making console games. Griftlands, I'm sure, can be a very good console games in the same way that Slay the Spire was on the Switch. Yep. But no, Oxygen not included. That's going to be a Steam game pretty much forever, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I joke and I jest and I jape at you, but like, these are the kind of experiences that I feel like indie games and like a platform like Steam kind of provides for people, right? Like if it was a AAA studio, they would never make something like this. Like, they'd be like,
No.
this is insane. But that's the kind of stuff that you see coming out now, and people are like, I never knew that I liked X type of game until I, played it on like a Steam sale or something.
Yeah, exactly. Steam is really a great way to experience new types of games in a relatively painless manner. Really.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the AAA experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those games are, Cyberpunk notwithstanding, generally very polished, lots of content. Like, you're spending $80 or $90 Canadian now with the new generation, but like, you're spending $80-$90 on a game. At least that you're getting something. You know what I mean? Like, it might not be groundbreaking. It might not have, crazy new mechanics and stuff that you've never thought of before, but that you're getting a relatively well-polished experience.
Yeah.
That's what you get with AAA. When you're paying like $5, $10, $2 for an indie game, you might get, like a Bejeweled game where you undress anime people. Like, who the hell knows, right? Like,
That's right. You might get a piece of art, is what you're saying.
Yes. Anyhow, so that's Oxygen not included.
Yeah.
The other game that I was playing, and this one I haven't finished yet as well, although much like with Oxygen not included, I am most of the way through. I think I'm like maybe 4 hours from finishing it.
Okay.
Is Rocket Slime for the Nintendo DS.
Ooh. I like this. Because it's one of these, again, much like Oxygen not included, it's kind of one of these weird, quirky games that I've heard of, but I've never been able to sort of track down myself. So I'm glad that I now get to experience it through you.
Yeah. And I have to, man, I feel kind of terrible. I felt a little bit terrible once I was a few hours into the game. So I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, we had Luke from Luke Likes Games on the show, and he mentioned Rocket Slime, and Rocket Slime had been on my radar, not because I had ever actually seen gameplay, but because it's called Rocket Slime. You know what I mean? Like, isn't that name intriguing? It's not just me, right?
Absolutely. No, it's absolutely, like, if I saw it on the shelf, I'd be like, Last of Us 2 Rocket Slime.
Yeah, me too. So I asked him, because he said he mentioned Rocket Slime, and then he played it, and I was like, oh, what's it like? And immediately he struggled to describe it.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, has he actually played it? Or did he just say that he played it? And I'm like, no, he's played it. If he says he's played it, right? But his description was basically a non-description. Like, he was like, I don't know, there's like tank battles and it's weird. And I was like, all right, I didn't press him on it, right? Like, we don't invite people on the show to embarrass them unless they're, Chris Copleen. So, so I picked up Rocket Slime, I started playing it, and then I immediately realized why he had such a hard time describing it. It is completely like beyond description. Like, basically the game is kind of divided up into two portions.
Okay.
There is like an overhead Zelda type game where you control the little slime from Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
And you fight bad guys and you collect items that you can then craft into other items and so on and so forth. Pretty standard stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where the game actually shines, though, is in between these exploration Zelda parts, you have giant tank battles. So the way that works, it's so weird, dude. Basically what happens is you encounter a bad guy, and the bad guys are all hilarious, right? Like, this game has a very punny sense of humor. You know what I mean? Like, when you fight against the wooden tank, like, your enemies have a wooden tank. It's made out of wood, and it's called the Chrono Twigger. You know what I mean?
God.
Like, it's
Appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Who doesn't? It even uses the font from Chrono Trigger, but it's like Twigger with the wavy letters. Anyway, so the way these tank battles work is it makes use of the DS screen perfectly, right? So on the top screen, you have a picture of the two tanks, one on the left, one on the right, and they're firing ammunition at each other very slowly, right?
Okay.
They're either firing the ammunition in a slow, high arc, or they're firing ammunition in a quicker, more horizontal arc. The ammunition can be almost anything, like anything from swords to shields to actual slimes themselves, materials like bricks, whatever, right? And the tanks have hit points, and if they get hit with the ammunition, then they lose hit points. The first tank to reach 0 hit points then dies. It's actually a little bit more complicated. When they reach 0, they kind of reach a more, shall we say, vulnerable status, and then you have to actually go in there using the bottom screen, which is like the Zelda type screen, and then you have to actually go to their tank and kind of finish it off. You go to the engine room and you kill it, right?
Okay.
So the top screen has the two tanks, and then the bottom screen is like your Zelda thing, right? So you're running around your tank, you're running around the inside of your tank, you're picking up ammo, and you're throwing the ammo into the cannons. And that is how you kind of fight the other tank. And meanwhile, your enemies are doing the same thing, and you see the results on the top screen, right?
Yeah.
You have AI-controlled help. They also walk around and pick up ammo, fire it into the cannons, fire it at the other tank. Dude, it is so weird. I've never played a game like it before. I did not expect it. I just kind of wanted to play a game called Rocket Slime, really.
Are you enjoying it? You having fun?
Yes, although it does have a fatal flaw. With that said, the game, I think the average length to beat it is, 14 hours. So it's not exactly like,
That's good for a DS game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm like 9 hours in, and I'm clearly close to the end. And it's been fun. The only problem with it is that it has one fatal flaw. It has there's a mechanic in the game that makes the tank battles super, super easy, right? And once you kind of figure out that cheap mechanic, then it really kind of takes the tension out of the games. The game is still fun, but the tank battles become more about exploiting this one flaw than actually strategizing and which ammo am I using.
They become more tedious than anything. Like,
kinda, I hate to say it.
Get it out of my way. I understand. I'm gonna win now.
Yeah. It's almost impossible to lose. I think I've lost one tank battle, and that was kind of before I figured out the exploit. And then once I figured it out, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And it's not hard to figure out.
Are you the Tom Brady of tank battles at this point? Do you think you're the GOAT?
Well, I haven't betrayed my kingdom and gone to fight for the bad guys.
Fair enough.
So I would say no. I would say I'm more the shit. I was about to say Peyton Manning, but he also did that.
Nope. Wrong. I was gonna say Kevin Durant, also wrong.
Oh, so incredibly wrong. And I was gonna say Kobe Bryant, but I never liked Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace. But he was
R.I.P.
not my favorite player.
Yeah.
I'm the Dirk Nowitzki of tank battles. is what I am.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, dude. I didn't even, and I'm looking into Rocket Slime further because even with this one fatal flaw, I've enjoyed it enough that I'm like, okay, how can I get more of this? Right?
Yeah.
Maybe and it turns out there's actually 2 other Rocket Slime games released in Japan.
Oh, of
yeah,
course.
I didn't know this. The first one was for the Game Boy Advance. That never got localized here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not called Rocket Slime. It's called something Japanese with the word
Here we
slime
go.
in it.
Please pronounce the title of this game.
It's called Slime Mori Mori Dragon Quest. Is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So from my understanding, if you want to get a bigger taste of the Rocket Slime, Slime Mori Mori is Rocket Slime but without the tank battles. But the Zelda aspect is actually more in depth.
Okay.
The Zelda aspect in Rocket Slime, English localization DS, it's not challenging at all. It's meant to be like a sort of material gathering mission more than anything else, and unlocking more things in your town. The third one, however, is on the 3DS, and I think I might actually try that one. Yeah. Instead of tanks, they have battleships, like old galleons. And I don't know, it looks pretty interesting. Yeah. It's funny, man. Like Japan, like every other video game enthusiast, I often wish and wonder what it would be like if I lived there. And it's stuff like Dragon Quest Slime Mori Mori 3 that makes me wish I lived there.
Yeah.
They actually had like a promotion with McDonald's where if you go to McDonald's and you order like a certain combo, they give you an item in the game. Why can't we have these things here?
Why don't we?
Why can't I go to McDonald's already? Right? Like I would love to get items in my video games.
I can't speak for Canada specifically, but here it's because we're violently opposed to joy in any shape or form.
Dude, could you imagine if you went to McDonald's and if you ordered, let's say, a Filet-O-Fish, you get a specific Slay the Spire card? There'd be a stampede. I can only assume there would be a stampede at your local McDonald's with people with their Nintendo Switches or their laptops or whatever, by whatever means they play Slay the Spire. I would absolutely go to McDonald's and collect every exclusive Slay the Spire
We tried that
card.
once with Szechuan sauce. It failed horribly. We're never doing that again.
Wait a minute, wasn't the Szechuan sauce like super popular? And when they stopped doing it, people revolted.
They ran out, and people like got violently angry at McDonald's staff for not having their Rick and Morty sauce or whatever, and started yelling at people. We're never doing that again.
It's true.
It's over. We tried it one time. It's over.
That's a good point. The Japanese would just bow politely and silently seethe. I think that would be
exactly.
I think that would be their move.
No, the only thing you get if you order a Filet-O-Fish here is you get put on a list of some kind. That is the only proper response to ordering a Filet-O-Fish.
Yeah, if you're under 65, or sorry, if you're over 65, you get a pass. But if you're under 65 and you get a Filet-O-Fish, then you're gonna have a hard time checking in through the airport, I think.
Yeah,
they are the only people who are worse than the people who order a burger without any of the condiments and the gherkins. Those people,
why
are the worst?
Why you know what the problem is? They hate freedom.
I would like your most delicious item, but please make it as bland as possible. Just make it disgusting.
Yeah, dry, bland burger in a bun.
Yeah. So is that all your games, Paul? Have you wrapped yourself up in a nice burger bun for us?
Yes, I mean it's not like I have time to play anything but Oxygen Not Included. So yes, sadly, or joyfully. That is it for me.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back for Geoff's picks, which I'm very excited about. So see you guys on the other side of that break. All right, and we're back. Geoff, Paul had his time to shine. Now I'm putting you center stage. Why don't you tell me what you've been playing lately?
Well, I was thinking it's been a while since I was on.
It's been a while.
This format episode. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Every time somebody says that, I have to sing that song. I love it so much.
And I've realised I've actually played and completed a lot of games over Christmas, especially that period where I wasn't sure which country I was going to be in the new year because of all the testing I had to do.
Yeah.
So I had a big long list to kind of go through and go, right, what have we, like, what can I talk about that Paul hasn't played?
The struggle of this entire podcast.
I know, Jesus. So there's a few that I want to give a shout out to, just to say, like, these are fantastic games. They've been spoken about on this podcast a few times. I want to just make sure I put like a little G of approval on it. Number one is Hades.
Yep.
Hades. The only thing that I'm looking forward to with the DLC, which is what I'm hoping we'll get, is just a little bit more boss variety.
Yes.
That would be cool.
Yes.
But otherwise, 45 hours well spent. Absolutely enjoyed it, start to finish. Fantastic game. The probably one of the best blends of story and characters with gameplay that I've had for quite a few years.
Yeah.
It just it's so well written.
It's extremely well written, and like you said, Geoff, like, it's a great blend of everything. It is really, really well put together. And you know, I know that I didn't shit on AAA games in the last segment, but like, this is the kind of game where you can tell the people who made it care. You can feel it. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's a lot of care put into the characters, put into the little details. You know, like, I never get tired of petting Cerberus because there's like there's little details, right? And you can just tell they give a shit. It's not all about like more content. It has soul. Yep. It has a lot of soul.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
No, I was just going to say, I'm getting nervous about Hades because every single person that I talk to is like, it's great. I love it. It's awesome. And I'm worried that I'm going to be the guy that's not going to enjoy it. But it looks so good and so fun, so well made, like very, very, like visually very nice to look at.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to finally try it myself, even though it's a game recommended by Paul, so obviously it's, you know, gonna destroy my life.
And Geoff.
And you got
that
my
tempers
approval.
it a little bit. That does. It makes it a little more palatable.
It's the most accessible roguelike game I played for quite a while. Yeah. It does have a good difficulty curve. I would say for the story and the characters, you can't go wrong with Greek mythology. Like, it's all there for you. So you could say, like, it's a lazy piece of, like, human history to choose because it's so well known.
Yeah.
But they did such a good job at making all the gods characters and making them feel like rounded individuals rather than just, well, Zeus is the god and he's a badass, but they actually turn him into something that you neither love nor hate. You don't know where you are with them all the time. Athena, Poseidon, all these guys.
Yes.
So we've seen them all before in other games, and we've all probably grew up in our childhoods being aware of Greek mythology, but it does a great job at bringing that to life. So that's Hades. Then the other games that I completed recently were the Dark Souls, the remaster, and Dark Souls 3. Well, you could never completely complete them because of all the new game plus.
Yeah.
Just after our podcast, a little plug for the episode that Ozzy did with me and Ninja Artorias. Dark Souls 1 continues to be one of the best games from from that PS3 360 generation.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Dark Souls 3, the DLC I'm now stuck on, it is brutally difficult. I mean, I haven't played game quite as tough as Dark Souls 3 DLC. That's next level. But the main game itself, I've enjoyed it a lot more this time than I did when I first played it back in 2016.
Oh, interesting.
So,
why is that?
I think I was just so unwilling to accept the speed in which Dark Souls 3 is played at, because it's a bit of a kind of a hybrid between Bloodborne, which is that you have that fast system where when you take damage, you've got to quickly give damage to enemies to get your health back up. So it rewards like aggression rather than Dark Souls, which is all about tactics and strategy and defending and all of that, riposting and what have you. But it kind of blends them. So some of the bosses are like Bloodborne level bosses in terms of their speed. So you're like, wait a minute, I don't have the speed to match, but you kind of work your way through it.
Yeah.
And when the first time I played it, I was like, well, this isn't Dark Souls anymore. It's too fast. And that was me basically saying, I can't play it anymore. I can't win. You know,
That was you pulling an Arnie,
honest.
being like, oh, it's not that I'm not good at it. It's just that it's too fast. I can't. It's not traditional enough. It's not, I don't waste my time.
Exactly. But whereas this time, I think because I came from Dark Souls 1 into 3, I skipped 2. I actually appreciated it a lot more and gave it a lot more time. And I was like, wow, actually, this is far better than I initially thought. So quite happy I went back to that. So those were the two. I mean, Tony Hawk Pro Skater completed that.
Yes.
You know, great fun. And then Yakuza Kiwami 2 I also went through over November. And that's probably one of the best RPGs I've played in an incredibly long time.
Wow. Excellent game. Truly, Yakuza has become the soap opera of our generation. You go in and you know the story's going to be ridiculous, but you're going to love it. It's going to be great. You're going to do some karaoke. You're going to race go-karts or whatever it is you do. It's like murdering literally hundreds of people.
Exactly. But they all walk away from the fight.
Yeah, they're fine.
You only ever kill the main enemy. No, but so hopefully, let me think. Probably in June, July, I'll be ready to talk about Like a Dragon. I hope. Yep. I've got that on the old playlist.
Nice.
But then the game I wanted to dive a little bit into is a game Paul did play, but got a bit tired of. Some people love this game to death. So it's this Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fire Emblem Three Houses is a cocktail of ups and downs for me.
Yeah.
I decided I was going to play it because enough people have said this is a great Fire Emblem game, and I loved Awakening. I enjoyed Echoes. I didn't mind Fates, so I thought, okay, I've got to give this a go. But then there was always that part of what people were telling me about how heavy it was on the relationship building, how much dialogue, how many possibilities of relationships and connections that they were to make. And I was like, I don't really feel like I have time to play a dating sim or I don't really want to be doing that. And I would hear about tea parties, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm 36. It's not really what I want to be doing with my video game time, having tea parties. So a mate of mine lent me the cart and said, look, you've got to play it at least to see for yourself. Otherwise, you'll always wonder.
Yeah. Fair.
You'll always have that in the back of your head. So, he's absolutely right. So I played one complete playthrough. So a first gameplay.
Which house did you pick? This is important.
I chose, I think I didn't go in knowing what other people have done, but I seem to have picked the obvious one apparently, and that's the Black Eagles.
Yeah.
Edelgard.
Yep.
She just, from a character side, just stood out. The other two just seemed quite bland. So I was like, sweet, that seems the obvious choice. Yep. It seems the darkest choice. So it's probably got the most edge to it. So it's like, that's what I'll probably want on an initial playthrough. Didn't regret it. It was, if you condense the story down of just that house, it's a good story. And it's, it's got good ups and downs. Edelgard is an interesting character. I was quite happy with that. About 45 hours I spent doing that.
That's it.
He skipped all the tea parties. Did not do a single one.
So I wanted to, because I could go full on with this game. on this and probably upset some people or made people question my sanity. I want to kind of go through what I really enjoyed before I kind of lay into it, and probably you can see why I only spent 45 hours in it, which for me is a long time for a single play with a game that has like six different plays that you can almost do. You know? 45 hours is more than enough.
Yeah.
Essentially, like, it's just another Fire Emblem. So if you like the battles and you like that system, yeah, it's fine. It's got the partnerships. It's got the terrain that you can use to, you know, boost your stats. It's got all of that stuff that is just, I enjoy those type of games. I enjoy strategy. I'm not great at them. I can't play it on hard. I get my ass kicked. But, you know, I enjoy it. And like I said, like the story, like the key story with Edelgard was good. Not fantastic, not memorable, but like, I was more than happy to kind of play through with that storyline in the, you know, kind of taking me through.
Yeah, I felt like it had a good foundation built. Like the opening cinematic to the game is spectacular. Like I remember watching that and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be great." And
did you also play the Black Eagles, Paul?
Yeah, I did. And unlike Geoff, I didn't finish it. I guess we'll talk about that whenever. But like, it just kind of felt like there was a great foundation, and it just took. I don't know. To me, it just kind of took long, I guess, to get there. I don't know. Maybe it's because I got stuck on all the ancillary stuff. But if you're saying it's worth it, then
so this is where I pushed through. I had to push myself through, especially the first half of the game.
Before what is it, like the time jump or whatever?
It's like
people always refer to the time jump.
Yeah,
it's like a 5-year gap, and after a big event. I completely agree with Paul. Like the underlying story is really intriguing and interesting. It's just when you've got a game where you've got that really strong story as a bedrock, but you've got thousands of layers of stuff you don't care about. It's like, I can't keep digging and getting through mundane, inane chatter to get to the next chapter, to get to the next little nugget of story. And then suddenly, bam, halfway through, major cataclysmic events happen. And you're like, where the hell has this come from? Because I spent the last 30 hours doing tea parties and going... The fishing wasn't so bad, but like tending to flowers.
Oh, dude, singing in the choir, like it's there.
Yeah, and I
just like to point out these are two individuals who love a game about making boxes more efficient or factories more efficient.
I mean, that's because there's no story in those games. If I had to build a conveyor belt system of X complexity in order to get to the next chapter of the story, then I might be annoyed with the conveyor belts. But
singing in the choir, the bridge too far.
I think my issue is that I struggle in that moment. Obviously, at the end of the game, you can see it, but this is where like I question like what kind of games do I like, or what kind of gamer am I? But like when you look back and you go, oh, I can now see how all those interactions can play a part in me making what I could have made a better choice. I could have maybe understood that I should have had a certain conversation at a certain point because it was like flagged. Oh, you need to, you can go and talk to this person. And I chose not to because I was like, I'm not really interested in talking to that person.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's hard to tell what the mundane conversation is and what the important conversation is going to be. So you kind of go, well, I after the first few hours where you realize this is not interesting, these characters are not that intriguing and not that interesting apart from like one of the 3 key characters. It's personally. It's like, well, you don't know what that big nugget of information is going to be. So I ended up not really caring about the conversations, not really caring about creating relationships, because I soon kind of felt like, I don't really, I can still win the battles. They're super easy to win. The terrain is incredibly repetitive. Like there's no variety.
Yeah.
There's no sort of like jeopardy there's a couple of really good battles early on where you're facing the other houses and you need to be tactical.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get like the main enemy, it's just kill everyone. Just kill them.
Yeah.
There might be a big beast, but kill it. It's like there was no. It's like for a AAA game, there's like no variety in the battles. All the variety is in the communication, and that's where it's like I can't do this, especially when you're dealing with all these anime tropes.
Yeah.
Like I'm a super shy girl who that doesn't sound like a girl, but I'm a super shy girl who hides in her room all the time. I'll talk through the door, but once I'm on the battlefield, I'll shoot someone through the heart. Don't worry about it. But I'm really worried. But I do like cakes. So if you ever have a cake, you can bring me the cake. It's like oh my good God. This is not this is the worst kind of like generic anime characters I've dealt with.
Oh man. It's funny you mentioned her because she was to me like arguably the least annoying character. The whole thing with her was so ridiculous.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul. Who was number one then? Number one most annoying.
Oh boy. I'm sorry, Geoff. I can't remember. It's been too long since I played it.
You wiped your memory. You were wise to do that.
Yeah. No, there was one like noble-born kind of annoying guy. You know, the typical kind of like.
Yeah.
You know, I'm noble and I'm better.
He got killed in one of my first battles. I was like, I don't care about restarting. I don't care.
I'm glad we're having this conversation. It's not like we have a 3-hour episode talking about how much we love the series.
This is so Arnie, because this is where I wanted to go to.
Yeah.
Where I am with this series, I loved Awakening.
Yeah.
Apart from the time
as is
nonsense.
morally required of you love that game. Yes.
But Awakening is what got me like, I need to pay more attention to this series. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Then Fates went too far into it was just too big. It was too big for a 3DS game, and it lost me. Towards the end, I was like, I don't really care anymore.
Yeah.
Gaiden or Echoes was that great length again. 2 characters, a solid story, a single story. Got me through. Great. Fantastic. This has put me back onto I'm going to be holding off for quite a while on any future Fire Emblem game.
Yeah.
Because I found that I am someone that I do not want to know this game. In order for me to get the story out of this game, I'm going to need to do multiple playthroughs of repeating a lot of the same actions.
Yeah.
Okay, you choose a different house. Okay, you try and get married at the end to someone else. It's like all this fluffy stuff around the edges that just I just don't care about.
Yeah.
But if I want to get good hardcore story, I got to sit through this for another 40 hours to get the little nuggets again.
Yeah.
And I've got to do that 3 more times. It's like, nah, you know what? The other characters didn't seem interesting. They literally disappear for the rest of the game. Then they reappear. I couldn't care less. It's like, okay, you clearly want me to play this 3 times, and I'm not giving you that time. And that's like what people love about it. People love that replayability. But it's like, don't make me replay a game, or I'm not going to replay a game even, which is 90% mundane chit-chat and 10% repetitive battles. And that's where I kind of landed on it.
It's egregious in this case. Like, this is becoming a thing now where you need to replay games multiple times in order to get the full story. I'm not a fan, dude. I'm not a fan.
Yeah. Me neither.
I get it. I get why Nier Automata was so popular. I did finish it the first playthrough. But, like, once you see credits, I don't know about you guys, but like once I see credits, I'm done. Like it's really hard to play a game again. And Nier Automata did it like in a way that was even less painful, where subsequent playthroughs were far less time. But even at a third of the time, like fuck man, it's once I see those credits, it's really, really hard to get back into it to get more story.
Yeah. No, once I see credits, I'm like, count that for the year number of games I've beaten.
Yeah.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I'm done.
Yeah. If exactly, and if like the incentive is to play again, you're going to sit through different conversations. It's like if you want to sit through a conversation sim, then I recommend calling your friends and picking a subject and talking about things.
I recommend starting a podcast. That's what you really want to do.
Or start a podcast. Yeah. So I know we got listeners who absolutely adore free houses, and absolutely to each their own. Fantastic that they like it. But in the end, I just felt that too much of it would, just let itself down.
Yeah.
And it does make me kind of really take a step back from that series.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to point out really quickly that their support of this is keeping me from getting a new Advance Wars game. And that is unacceptable. that I will not tolerate.
Yeah, it's
a shame.
And it has that mechanic too, not to rant too much on it, but like it's got that Persona 5 specifically mechanic where like in Persona 5 you want to capture the demon, the persona, and you have to answer questions, but the questions are nonsense and you have no idea what your answers are going to mean as far as like whether you get this thing or not. And Fire Emblem, like I did one tea party and then that was it, because like the answers were just like,
it's nonsense.
Yeah, like how did this piss her off? You know what I mean? Like
yeah. But what they'll say is oh yeah, but you need to know this person because they like quiet moments in gardens with a horse. So okay, I remember that bit of information. So let's have a tea party. Sip, sip, sip. Can I offer you a biscuit? Yes. Oh no, I don't like that. What's a biscuit got to do with what I've learned about this person?
What kind of monster doesn't like biscuits?
You wouldn't believe, Paul.
Anyway.
But you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, but that's what I found as well. I was like, you know what? If this is going to be random, then why should I care?
Yeah.
So, game number 2, numero 2, is Mario Rabbids, the old early Switch release, which I have you either of you two played this?
No,
I have not.
I haven't.
For obvious reasons.
Perfect. Arnie. What a great game. What a great, fun, strategic shooter, Mario, Rabbids, nonsense game.
Shooter?
Really good fun.
I had no idea.
Nothing that old Italian plumber can't make fun. No, just give him a gun and let him go.
So maybe then, Paul, have you played XCOM?
Oh yeah.
Or you got, it's basically XCOM with Mario.
Oh, geez, how did I not know that? I thought it was more like I don't know, like
Call of Duty.
I wish.
No. I thought it was more like a Final Fantasy Tactics, right? There are subtle differences between XCOM and Tactics.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is like one of those strategic cover shooters. There's no permadeath, which is fantastic because it's Mario. You don't want to permanently have Luigi killed.
Children crying across the world.
I'm crying.
I think the best thing about this is how Ubisoft, and I remember this being said at the time, and now that I've played it, I completely agree with it. How Ubisoft have managed to make a Nintendo game without you realizing that it's not Nintendo.
Yeah,
it is so well woven into a believable package of what could happen to Mario.
Yeah. I heard they had Miyamoto stand in their office and smoke cigarettes while they programmed it. That's the magic right there.
I wouldn't be surprised. So basically, XCOM style cover shooter where you get Mario's world has been turned upside down because of the Rabbids and because of somebody who created this machine that kind of can join or put two elements together and turn them into one.
Yeah.
So you end up getting a rabbit, that old Ubisoft game character. Like you get these ones who impersonate Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, Peach.
And Peach. Yep.
Yeah. I want to say someone else, and I can't.
Maybe Donkey Kong,
but
Toad.
That's the DLC.
Oh,
no, Toad. Right. Toad doesn't get replicated. No. So yeah, so it's those ones. But essentially, what you're going to have is a Mario, a Rabbid equivalent.
Okay.
But they have slightly different skills to your core Mario characters. So obviously, Mario will always be your all-rounder. He's good strength, good speed, good jump ability. Luigi's your sniper, so he can because he uses the Luigi's Mansion vacuum as like a sniper rifle. Peach is a bit bizarre. She uses a shotgun and is but great at team assists and health and healing and what have you. What's so engaging about the gameplay is how all your characters can interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
How you can use one character to launch another one off to like jump on the head of a bad rabbit or whoever like a boss, whoever you're trying to go after. Characters can also slide and tackle multiple characters. Your guns can have additional effects, like it can push the characters off screen, it can stick them to the floor with honey and all sorts of things. So it becomes, it becomes very intuitive quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it challenges you. The first world kind of builds up your knowledge really well. By the time you get to the end, you understand all the mechanics, like proper typical Mario game where you learn just by doing. You don't learn by being instructed every 5 seconds.
Yeah. It really is. I remember seeing it when it came out and people talking about it. And I just, to this day, I don't know what Ubisoft possibly did to get Nintendo to give them these characters. Like, I can't imagine they pitched this game and people at Nintendo were like, this is it. They've solved the equation. Because it sounds insane when you tell somebody what the game is, like offhand.
It really does.
It sounds crazy. But it works. It looks great.
I'll bet if it was at this point in the Switch life cycle, it might not happen. I mean, early in the Switch life cycle, it's one thing where they need games, especially if that first holiday season. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it is a weird marriage.
Yeah, super weird. But it works. Honestly, the sense of humor that's laced throughout it, especially with the Rabbids, with Rabbid Peach, fantastic. You really get a sense that, like, kind of like with Hades, Paul, like you can tell the development team had fun, and I think that comes across quite well. I was talking to a mate of mine who's very proud to say that a lot of it got made in Italy. And that he knows the director of that game. He's met him at a bar a few times in Milan. So it's like, it's like a partly Italian-made game.
Yeah. So
it's got its European roots because it's Ubisoft, I guess. But it's it's all like French and Italian team, I think, who did most of the core work on it.
Cool.
The best thing about it is that it's super cheap. It's one of those Mario games that is, I think you could pick it up for $20 if you look in the right place at the right time.
Cheap. That is cheap for Mario.
Exactly. I think I got this on the Black Friday deal, like €20. So I got it for a Christmas present, and I just played it from start to finish in like 4 days.
Oh, nice!
Immediately got the DLC. I was like, this is a perfect length.
Beautiful.
So highly recommend if you can find a copy for $20 or maybe even $30. You'll have a great time.
It's on sale all the time. It is
all the
like
time.
Every time there's some kind of event, sale, Black Friday, what have you, you are almost guaranteed to find Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle in there.
Which for a while made me concerned that maybe it's not as good as you think, because Mario games are never on sale.
Exactly.
But this is Ubisoft, and I guess they just decided, well, it's our game at the end of the day.
Yeah, Mario game under $40 is like Halley's Comet. It happens once like every 70 years or whatever.
How's the difficulty level?
So the core game is a bit of a learning curve. I'm not gonna lie. Like the first world kicked my ass a few times, and once I got a hang of it, it's okay. It's never fully punishing. There's always a way to get through the game. As long as you just use your head. Yeah. So it's not. It teaches you lessons quite quickly, and you have to learn quite quickly. But there are additional challenges, and the additional challenges are what ramps up the difficulty. So if you really want to go for those difficult moments, then there's like super hard, super challenges.
Yeah.
And that's where I tried a few, and it's incredibly difficult. But it's less. Which is what's so good about it. It's less we're going to give the enemies more health and make you weaker when you shoot. Yeah. More of a case of they get smarter and they get more tactical in terms of what they do.
Nice. Yeah. And is there sort of like an overarching, like in XCOM, you kind of have your battles, but then the battles affect like your base management in between battles and so on and so forth. Is there anything like that, or is it just strictly tactical battles over?
I mean, like your base is Mushroom Kingdom, is Peach's castle.
Awesome.
Which is, but it's all quite light. You know?
Of course.
It's not heavy. It's not. I mean, there's a lot of things you can unlock. There's a lot of weapons you can buy, upgrades you can get, and what have you. But it's all like the worlds are all splintered off into different locations that you have to use like a warp pipe to get to. All your typical Mario stuff.
Yeah.
But it's only if you're going after like the really good scores or the really big challenges do you need to worry about leveling things up like instantly.
Right.
There is. I remember. I wanted to ask you about this, Geoff, because I remember people mentioning it when it first started. I can't imagine they've changed it, but I remember one thing people were like, "Oh, this is kind of annoying." Is that like they force you to have Rabbids in your party? Like you can't just have all Mario characters. You have to have at least one or two Rabbids in your party at all times. Which I was like, that's. I mean, I get it. Just let me have all Mario
I don't
characters.
get it. Is there like a gameplay reason that has to happen?
No. Not that I'm aware of, at least.
It's no, exactly. I just remember like for 5 minutes going, why is it not letting me? Am I doing something wrong? Like, why can't I have Peach and Luigi with Mario? Why do I? And you can't get rid of Mario, obviously. So it's, you've got to always have a Rabbid, but once and it took me a little bit of time, but once you understand what their strengths are, I had no problem having a Rabbid in there. They do add a good different like amount of tactical changes to your party. Plus they have humor. Like Mario characters, they're quite dry.
Yeah.
You know,
Nintendo will not let you do very much with their characters.
Exactly. Whereas the Rabbids is where it felt like this is the development team.
Yes.
This is like them injecting something into the game. So that's why I was quite happy to have, like Peach is always, for example, Peach Rabbid is always taking selfies at the worst time possible. So it's like you get like a Donkey Kong style Rabbid tearing things up and it's too busy trying to take a selfie. Then it's like focusing, whereas like Mario's super serious and we got to win and all of that. So, you know, there's some like nice quirky things. So it's not too bad having one Rabbid at any one time.
Yeah. All right. Well, two excellent games, and we're going to take one more break. We're going to come back. I'm going to obviously tell you about the amazing games I've been playing. So we'll see you in a bit. And we're back. We've talked to Paul. We've talked to Geoff. Now, the star of the show, everybody's been waiting for. It's my time to shine.
I mean, I've been waiting for it, yes, in a literal sense. But anyway, please continue, Arnie.
So I'm going to give you guys a choice. I have finished 5 games in January. 4 of them were Ratchet and Clank games. So how much of Ratchet and Clank do you want to talk about?
Well, I think we're going to be talking about at least a little bit, maybe one or two of the games. Like, okay, so here's the question then. You finished 4 Ratchet and Clank games in January. Had you ever played Ratchet and Clank before?
No. Well, yes. So this is the thing.
You have to pick one, Arnie.
I was very excited. The answer is yes. I was very excited because I started last year. I told you guys I started keeping track of games I finished.
Yeah.
And I found it to be very productive. I finished like 36 games. I was like, oh, this is nice to know that I'm actually playing games.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just forget about things that you played. So this year I was like, I'm going to try to go for 50. 50 is a nice round number. So that's my goal. And so I remember when I played Ratchet and Clank I think I've talked about this before on the podcast. My mom had a friend, an associate, that I would go to their house sometimes, and they had all kinds of video games. That's where I played Knights of the Old Republic for the first time. That's where I played Ring of Red for the first time. And that's where, Mr. Mosquito, I played there for the first time.
Yes, I remember this.
And one of them was Ratchet and Clank. And I played the original game maybe like a couple hours through, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I had some experience with it. I remember liking it. We had done our Sly Cooper episode, and it just like, I was like, oh, this jogged my memory that like these 3 game series exist. Jak and Daxter's a thing, Ratchet and Clank's a thing, Sly Cooper's a thing. I've barely played any of them. I should play one of them. And I realized Ratchet and Clank's the one I had the most games for. So I was like, I'm gonna play that. I'll play that one.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I played the first game, really enjoyed it. More than I thought I would, even from remembering what I had played of it.
And this was PS2?
Yep. PlayStation 2, original Ratchet and Clank. Very fun. The writing is very good. Very funny. I laughed. I cried. I blew shit up. I enjoyed it a lot. And I think the thing that I enjoyed about it is growing up, I was a Sly Cooper kid. Like, that was the game I had. But as I've grown older, I realized I hate stealth games. I'm bad at them. I don't like them. And Ratchet and Clank is the diametric opposite of that. It's,
yes.
You know, you got giant guns that do all sorts of crazy shit. And it's all about blowing things up, killing as many people as possible, and just having a good time. And I'm all for that. I'm 100% like, I'm in. And so it was very enjoyable. So the first Ratchet and Clank game, pretty like none of these games more than like 10 to 12 hours.
Oh, nice.
All very breezy playthroughs, very enjoyable. I will say there is a thing, and I don't know if this is me, if this is like a thing of the era or whatever, but it's good. Final boss is like, you're gonna die 20 times before you beat. He's like insanely hard. And I don't know if that's a PS2 sort of relic from that generation. I feel like some games still do that.
I don't know what the deal with that is. Like, I guess it's just to make it feel more epic. I don't know. Like, or maybe they could just get away with it. Like, the rest of the game, we kind of have to make sure the player is playing through it. You know what I mean? So we don't want to crush their hopes all at once. But once they get to the end, well, they're already at the end, so we might as well make them earn it, make them feel a nice sense of it. I don't know what the deal is. I just know that there have been some games where I get to the final boss. Oftentimes it's a fighting game, weirdly enough, which, I mean, who plays fighting games for the story? But regardless, like, oftentimes fighting games have these final bosses where it's like, this just breaks all the rules. You know what I mean? Like, you can do that? Fuck off.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, man.
Yeah, dude, Third Strike? Come on, man.
Third Strike is ridiculous.
Yeah.
No matter what level setting you have it on, he's an arse.
Yeah.
One thing I also enjoyed about it, and I think Geoff will appreciate this, is you guys know about Ratchet and Clank's titles? Like, do you know the thing with that?
No.
They're all like inappropriate puns. Like, the second game is Going Commando. The third game is Up Your Arsenal.
Okay.
There's one that's called like Quest for Booty. Like, you know, they're all very childlike, and so I love them.
Which studio you had? I am drawing a blank. Which studio was this again? Because I know they're making a PS5 game.
Fuck,
I think it's Insomniac, isn't it?
It's Insomniac, I think. Yeah,
it is Insomniac. Okay.
I was like,
I gotta look it up
Naughty
now.
Dog was
Jak and
Daxter, and then who did Sly Cooper? God,
showing our knowledge here.
If only we did an episode on Sly Cooper.
We did an entire episode, and I'm drawing a blank.
Oh man,
but yeah,
Insomniac did
games.
Ratchet and Clank.
Okay.
That's right. So they love their naughty puns, I guess, for some reason. But yeah, so
Sly Cooper was Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch. There we go.
Come on, guys.
So the first Ratchet and Clank, very enjoyable. I would recommend to almost anybody. If you like platforming, if you like third-person shooters, very fun
Where
game.
does it... Because I kind of always put it next to Jak and Daxter as like a game of like... I would have played it back when it was new, but now that I'm nowhere near it, I don't really feel like it's a game I would enjoy. But you think it would be worth going back to?
I think so. Especially because it's so short. It's such a breezy play. Even if you don't like it, you'll figure it out within like the first hour if you're going to enjoy it or not. It's not a game that you have to invest time into to be like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
It puts its strengths front and center. It's like
Right.
in the first level, if you're like, this is bad, I don't like this, you're not gonna like the rest of the game.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Platforming. Is there a lot of it? Is it annoying?
Not really. There is some of it, but the gunplay is the big draw of it.
Okay.
And the platforming is quite forgiving. You get a double jump, you get a hover, you get a lot of stuff that makes it so you probably won't die from falling off a thing.
Okay, that's good. Because, like, to me, when I see Ratchet and Clank, and I can't believe I haven't played it before, because it really, like, to me, it looks like a game that's really up my alley. Like, lots of action is what it looks like. And I don't like platforming. I don't like 3D platforming specifically getting in the way of that kind of fun. Yeah. No,
the platforming is there. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that it's not a part of it, but it it's probably not gonna be annoying for you. As a seasoned veteran of the sticks, you know.
What weapons were your favorites?
In the original, oh God, probably the one I always use the basic ones the most.
Interesting.
But there is a I think it's the first one. You get a sheep gun that turns people into sheep or chickens. It's either sheep or chickens. It's one of those. There is a like flamethrower. There is a like shotgun type thing. I'm a fan of the basics. The ones that get really crazy out there, I'm like, it's whatever. Oh, there's a suction gun where you can suck up tiny enemies and shoot them out as projectiles. That one's really fun.
Oh, that's so cool.
But one of the things I was going to get into, and I like that you asked me this question, is because in subsequent games, the more you use a weapon, it levels up and becomes more powerful over time. The first game doesn't do that. And the reason I like that the other games do is because it incentivizes you to switch your weapons up.
Yes.
And I always enjoy that kind of stuff. So the first game's good. I don't have the second game, so I didn't play it. That's Going Commando. But I did have Up Your Arsenal, which is probably my favorite title of all of them. Because it's the most clever to me. And that one's probably my favorite. Because it builds on the first one, but it adds leveling up your weapons, you level up your health, and that's really fun. And they just do such a good job of like making the weapons interesting throughout successive play. You get even more weapons this time. You get like a sniper rifle, you get all sorts of good stuff. A bomb glove. There's a glove that like summons little tiny minions that will like run around and shoot things for you.
Oh, that's automatically my favorite.
Yeah. It's
It's
great. And when you upgrade them, they get like little jetpacks so they can fly and have like bigger cannons on them. It just builds on it's like, this is ridiculous. Let's add a heaping helping of more ridiculous on top of it.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Geoff, but like having played Dead Cells, having played Hades, in these kind of games, I don't know about you, but my favorite weapons are the ones where I just toss them out and then run away and watch them kill other things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So setting traps and getting enemies to fall in and just get annihilated is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Having the same thing with 13 Sentinels, you just sit back and go, hey.
Oh, yeah.
How about these apples?
Watching the explosions in that game is one of my favorite things. I just launched 7,000 missiles. Let's watch the game crawl to like 10 FPS as it's like trying to process everything.
So yeah, when I hear that weapon in Ratchet and Clank, I'm like, sweet, there's a weapon where I can just fire it out and then run away. That's
Agents of Doom or something is what it's called too.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's great.
So you've gone through four of the games then.
Yep.
Okay, so that's how many on the PS3 was it? Because I'm so lost.
5 on the PS2, and then another 4 or 5 on the PS3, and then
There's
one
been that many.
on the PS4. It's just called Ratchet and Clank, and then there's another one coming out in 2021.
Right,
for
that's the one that they were hyping
probably.
with the
Yeah.
They were hyping about how you can just shift between levels and like how the loading is going to be insanely fast.
They
That's
were
what
they
I'm
were
pimping out.
prolific. Of the three series that I think of them as a unit at this point, they were by far the most prolific in terms of just sheer number.
Fair play.
Interesting. I just based on how they all look, I mean, for me, I'm not surprised Ratchet and Clank was the most popular one. It just looks the most like immediately gratifying, pick up and playable. You know what I mean? If Ozzy was here, he would. I'm almost 100% certain he would disagree. But that's kind of how I've always looked at Ratchet and Clank. Boy, for a game series that I have so much praise for, it's kind of a crime that I've never actually played it. Really.
It's, it was one like Jak and Daxter. I'm playing Jak and Daxter right now. Like, that's the current game I'm playing. And after coming from Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter is very fun. I'm enjoying it, but it's not as carefree. It's not as like go out, be cool, shoot things as Ratchet and Clank.
Jak and Daxter always felt to me like it was like a fetch quest kind of game. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
collecting
constant
a lot of
collectibles.
stuff.
Yeah, it's after a while you're like, wait a minute, I see what they're making me do here, and I don't want to play that game.
Yeah.
But I think Jak and Daxter does change as you play the sequels. It does just change it up.
It's a lot darker.
I don't think they're all the same. Yeah.
But one of the things is Ratchet and Clank, and I haven't played enough of Jak and Daxter to know if this happens, but Ratchet and Clank makes you feel so powerful. So like you're like, I can take anybody on anytime. It's very good about making you as a player, as you progress, feel like you're a badass now. Like you've come to this point after doing all this stuff. So then after Up Your Arsenal, there's Deadlocked, which is not a pun, and automatically I don't like it.
It's a shame.
It became too difficult. Too difficult to come up with
and
those.
this one is different. They sort of mix it up. In this one, you're like, you've been captured and you get put on a game show, which is like, you sort of have to go to different planets and do like, fight like giant battles. And it's like, it's kind of like Battle Royale type stuff, where you have to survive. And that one it's okay. It's fine. They really did try to like they do like vehicle segments and like pseudo racing segments. And I'm like, I just want to shoot people.
That's the thing about these segments, man. Like, it's so tough. Like on one hand, it's sometimes nice to have a break from the regular game and do something different. On the other hand, oftentimes the break sucks.
Yeah.
Or oftentimes the break game is actually better than the actual game. Like there's all kinds of like pitfalls you can fall into with that extra kind of mini game that breaks up the action.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's like I said, it's not bad. I grew to enjoy it as I played it. Not my favorite. But I appreciate what they were trying to do, which is they were like, this is like our fourth game at this point. Like, we can't, you're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but you got to like put some pizzazz on it for people to care.
It's true. Like we've given you 3.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like we've made 1 and now we're making Deadlocked. We've given you 3 of these. So I think we've earned kind of a different one before perhaps moving back to the original formula.
And then I played Size Matters, which is a port of a PSP game.
Oh.
Which initially I was like, I hate this. Because I felt like you could see that it was a PSP game before they ported it over.
Right.
I was like,
right.
This looks a little less polished. It doesn't play as well. But over time, I grew to enjoy it. Again, not my favorite, but it's solid. You could do worse for your time than play this.
Look, the gameplay formula, it's kind of hard to mess that up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like lots of weapons, lots of shooting, cool weapons, feeling overpowered thing. Like that's kind of, it's hard to beat that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's hard to mess that up is what I'm saying.
It's one of those things where I was like, I genuinely felt, because the games are like in that sweet 10 to 15 hour range, when I finished one, I was like, I want more of this. So it was very
Yeah.
easy to move on to the next game,
Yeah,
the next
yeah.
game, and the next game, and
But-
just sort of
and there
go
wasn't-
through them.
So I find playing like a series one after the other like that. Sometimes these type of games, I kind of after a while I get tired of being reset at the beginning and I have to get through all the power ups again. I have to get all the up. But you don't get that kind of fatigue with this series. Then
I
You feel-
I don't feel like you do, because
That's good.
there's enough variety in the weapons that you're getting that when you start a new game, you're like, this is a weapon I've never used before. Like, this is exciting. Like, it's nice.
That's cool.
And as you start collecting more and more, you start buying more things. You're like, oh, I can mix and match, do all this stuff. And the cool thing is when they start doing the leveling of the weapons, what they would normally do is when you reach max level on a weapon, which is like not crazy. It's like level 3, level 5, something like that is max. It changes the weapon. So now it has like a new function that it did not have before. And so that adds like another layer on top of the mix match sort of gameplay.
That is a good way to go about it. I find more than any other game, Yakuza. I cannot play 2 Yakuza games in a row. Like that
Me
phenomenon, Geoff, that you mentioned, where you get kind of reset to the beginning. There's something about Yakuza where it's like a slap in the face.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
But
Ratchet and Clank
Yakuza's a
sounds
what?
like they
60, 70, 80 hour experience? Like,
Exactly.
depends, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
it can be, sure, yeah.
for me, 120 because I have to win all the slot car races.
Oh dear God.
It's imperative that I
No, I agree,
never
dude.
gotten so irrationally angry at a game that's pure randomness. There's no way to be good at that mini game. You just put the parts on and you're like, go with God. Please don't launch me off the track.
I think, shoot, I guess you're right. I never really thought of it that way. I did become slot car champion of Kamurocho.
Kamurocho.
But at the same time, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember if there was actual skill involved. I just remember just buying new parts and trying out the new parts and so on.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a trial and error until you win.
I remember the last race. I couldn't not launch my car off the side. As soon as it took a turn, it's like, you're gone. And I remember I looked it up and people were just like, these are the parts. Keep trying it until you win. And I was like, all right. It's just like,
Wow.
here we go. It's like one of these times you will not die.
Jeez, man.
Yeah. But no, Ratchet and Clank, again, it's just that sweet spot of that amount of time. And we've talked about this so many times on the show, but as I get older, as I have to maximize the fun per time formula, these sort of shortish games are becoming my favorites, you know? Like, there are things that I will always put extra time towards. If it's Persona, if it's Yakuza, those games, 40, 50, 60 hours, I'll give you that time. But that is a privilege, not a right.
Yes.
If you're untested, you gotta be 10, 15, maybe 20 hours. And if I like you, then I'll put some more time into you.
Right on. All right, man.
That's how
What's
it's gotta be.
what's the next game?
So the second game, and I wish Ozzy was here because I know he would appreciate this, was Rygar on the PS2. It has a subtitle. I don't remember the subtitle. But this is a game I actually bought at the Long Island Retro Game Convention. I went with Ozzy and Anthony. Ozzy bought his copy, and then I bought my copy shortly thereafter for like $5 or something.
Sure, yeah, dude. You're never gonna pay more than $10 for this game.
Yeah, I was like, all right, because Ozzy was like, "This is a good game," and I was like, "I'll take your word for it. It's $5. I'll put $5 on you being right." And this is, I mean, even shorter than this is a 6-hour game, 5-hour game
Really?
at most. Absolutely, unless you're going around like hunting for every little. So I'll talk about this. Every little like upgradable stone you can put in your disc armor.
Yeah.
No more than 5 hours. Absolutely not.
Wow, man. Because I remember the NES game. It amazes me that they even released this game, honestly, because Rygar is
There's
such
a Wii one. There's a Wii Rygar that's basically the same as the PS2 version, but on the Wii.
Oh wow. I can't believe that they resurrected that property, like I was like, Rygar, really? Because like, don't get me wrong, I loved the NES game. There was something about that spin fuser that really just kind of tickled us. But it wasn't like a great game, and certainly not widely known. So for them to bust out that license, and the reason I brought up the NES game is because I feel like the NES game might have been like 5 hours. It was the typical NES game where it had no save points, and you just kind of like make it as far as you can. But I don't remember ever finishing it, and we played that game for a long friggin' time. So 5-6 hours. That's a nice sweet spot, and probably not too far off from the original.
It's now what I will say, and this is I briefly mentioned this to you before, and this is the thing that if it was not this length, I would have dropped it immediately. Where when you start up Rygar on the PS2, you don't get a difficulty select, or you press start, new game, gone. You're in it. It's starting, right?
Yeah.
This game is balls hard. This game is very fucking difficult. And so when you die, inevitably you will die. When you die like 3 times, the game pops up and it's like, would you like to switch the difficulty to easy? Immediately, fuck you. Like, if you had presented me the option at the start screen, maybe I would have thought about it.
Yeah.
But if you're as I'm dying, when I'm my angriest, you're gonna be like, excuse me, would you like the little bitch difficulty for children and people with like amputated thumbs that can't reach the buttons or something? I'm like, fuck you. No. And so I was like, no, don't even bother. Don't even talk to me about easy difficulty. Not about it. Kept playing the game. Eventually I get to like, what must be like, it's like one of the final 3 bosses of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize that I can't go back to the main world. I have such little life that I will never be able to beat this thing unless I pour an inordinate amount of time into figuring it out. And I can't heal myself. And I'm like, I think I'm fucked. And I was just like, I can't accept this. So I go on like a GameFAQs or a little forum or something. And literally when you look at the playthrough for this, one of the first things they tell you is like, as soon as the game offers you easy mode, take it. Because the thing about this game is when you finish it, if you start a new game plus, some of your attributes will carry over to your new character.
Right.
And so the whole conceit is play it on easy, build your guy up, then go on normal with like extra buffs and extra defense or attack or whatever. I'm like, first of all, this is a terrible way to design a game. Fuck you. I hate you so much. But so I swallowed my pride and I started the game back up on easy. And I beat it in like 5 hours. I was like, easy is easy. Normal is not normal.
Yeah.
And there's 2 more difficulties after that. There's a hard difficulty, and then there's like an extreme difficulty where I think if you like fall down a bottomless pit at any point, you're like, the game's over. You're sorry. Start over.
Yeah, man.
That shit.
This is a design choice that I find I find bizarre, and B, has seemingly taken developers forever to figure out an alternative. Like, this whole thing where if you die too many times, for them to go, would you like this to be easier now? Would you like me to hold your hand? Like, no, don't. Nobody likes that. It doesn't make you feel good. You know what I mean? So there's one game we were talking about recently, not on the show, but like in our chat, Cyber Shadow. Cyber Shadow, it's a new game on the Switch, kind of like a Ninja Gaiden Metroidvania kind of hybrid. I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, 2D scroller, you know what I'm saying. And what they do is, as you progress through the game, you can accumulate, we'll just call it money. I don't know what the currency or whatever it is, but you can accumulate money. And at every stage there's like a checkpoint, and you can buy a power up. So you can like go through that level, and if it's not too difficult, then you hold on to your money. make it to the next level. And then if that level's too difficult, you die, you start over, and you go to the little vending machine, and you get yourself a power-up to help you get through that level, right?
Yeah.
The way Cyber Shadow does it, that's the way you do it. You don't do it in, like, I'm so sorry, Arnie, that you're terrible at video games. Look, it has nothing to do with your manhood. Just allow us to help you get through this level, please. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how you do it.
No, I become violently angry at you if you do that.
Oh, I see what it is now. They're in cahoots with the accessory manufacturers. They want you to throw that controller.
To slam that thing as hard as you can. That's what's going on. Mad Catz was out there giving stipends to people.
Oh, dude, the Mad Catz board of directors meeting in a dark room. I see it all happening now.
Yeah. That's a stock that I wish we could pump, honestly. Is Mad Catz. I miss them so much.
I don't.
Little brother controller manufacturer.
Oh, man. Okay, I see now that you're being ironic when you say you miss them. But, like, I do. No,
I miss them
worst.
very much. I do, actually. Because I was an only child, I always got the good controllers. But you always had to have one or two Mad Catz lying around for when your friend comes over.
Oh, dude.
Wanting to, like...
I know almost everybody I knew at some point was like, man, why would I pay $50 for a DualShock 2 when I could pay $20 or $30 and get this Mad Catz thing that does the same thing? No.
I vividly remember this. I don't think I ever owned a Mad Catz controller, but I vividly remember when I got my PS2, my mom bought me a Mad Catz DVD remote for the PS2.
Cool.
And you plugged in this little thing in the controller port, and it was a tiny little remote you would use to control your DVDs, and I fucking loved that thing.
Oh my god, are you serious?
I
was expecting this to be a story of disappointment.
No, this is the only way I would watch The Simpsons on my PS2 from my bed, never have to move to do anything. I wasn't tied down to the PlayStation with a cord. Get that shit out of here.
Right.
I had a wireless remote control that I would use to skip the intro and the credits. And that's how I would watch seasons 3 through like 6 of The Simpsons.
On DVD?
On DVD, sir.
Did you watch with the creator commentary?
I did not, no. And I would, if I could go back now, I would do that.
Worth it.
Those early seasons it would be.
Yeah, for sure. Like the softball episode, for example, which is a top 5 episode, by the way.
Classic.
So good.
I love that one.
But the commentary on that one, they talk about which baseball players were assholes and which ones were like really nice.
Really?
It's so great. Arnie, you won't believe this. Jose Canseco, not the most pleasant guy.
Oh, you don't say.
It's amazing when you think now
can't picture it.
Being on The Simpsons is an honor.
Yeah,
you know. But back then it was like,
yeah. Well, you're on season 3. They're like, Once you're on season 30, you're like, I think this thing's got legs. I think it's gonna be around for a little bit.
It depends. Like Mike Scioscia, for example. I don't know if you remember in that episode, but Mike Scioscia was like the nicest guy ever in the episode.
Yeah,
and in real life, that's exactly how he was. They loved Mike Scioscia, and Mike Scioscia was like super pumped to be on The Simpsons. He was like, I can't believe I'm getting to be on The Simpsons. And they're like, I can't believe you play baseball professionally. And he's like, no, I envy you guys.
Episode where like Daryl Strawberry like takes a tonic or something that makes his head like gigantic.
Ken Griffey Jr., but yes.
Ken Griffey Jr., that's right.
Which,
God, I love that.
Paul, was that also the guy who saved people from a burning building?
No.
Was that him, the really nice guy?
That was Jose Canseco. They made him save people.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, which is...
Okay.
They brought up the irony, yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God.
But Arnie, I was thinking about the, would you like to lower the difficulty thing? The last thing, I guess, I was thinking on that was, if a game quite quickly offers you, would you like to lower the difficulty? It often gets me thinking, you've designed a bad boss.
Yes.
You have.
Fair enough.
And you are, so I'm not going to change the difficulty of a game that I've found fine up till now.
Yeah.
Just because you've created a boss, which is, in hindsight, you've gone, this is a bit of a bit too tough for early stage. I think even Persona 5 did that. It was like, you want to lower the difficulty? It's like, no, it's been fine till now.
Yeah,
Like,
the answer's
let me
always
learn.
no.
Just let me learn.
Yeah.
Well, Persona 5 also does that because if you've never played a Persona game and you start a fight, you're like, what? These words are not the English language. I don't know what any of this stuff is.
Yeah.
Is she singing about pink tutus? I can't hear the lyrics. No idea. Bloody Persona music.
It's, but getting back to it, like Rygar on the PS2, I mean, can I recommend it? No. But again, 5-hour game. 4-hour game. Like, you beat it in a day. So if you want to add another tick to like games I beat, just play it.
Yeah. No, we definitely have a lack of games. So, you can give something like Rygar a shot that way. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in this desert that we call video gaming, it's a nice oasis.
I tell you what, though. The lack of announcements for these new consoles, the silence is definitely
Dude, I didn't
now.
even know the PS5 was coming until it came.
Yep. Yeah. And since it's been out, what's out on it? Maybe Demon Souls and Spider-Man. Like, aside from that, it's like
this has happened to me more than once, where I'm like on Twitter or Instagram or something, and people are like, loving this new game, and I'm like, when did this happen? When did this come out? Yeah. I don't know. So honestly, the PS5 could have 300 games out right now, and I would not know.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird how these sometimes just... you're right, Arnie. I've been finding that, like, following some people on Instagram, they're like, just finished this. And I'm like, you finished what? I have no idea what you're talking about. How did I miss this thing?
Yeah,
it has like it's a roguelike. It has How did I not know about it? The saving grace, though, I think for these particular next gen consoles, because I agree with you, Geoff. Like, there's definitely a dearth of games for them. I'm a little bit surprised that they brought them out with so little to support them software wise. But the upgrades on loading times, the lack of loading times, man, that's got to be at the very least a very helpful thing, and at least makes it a little bit worth the purchase. Yeah,
adding minutes to my life, all those microseconds of loading times will add up to an entire day of my life.
It's not microseconds, dude. Like, there are some games where I'm sitting there and I'm like, why is this a PlayStation 1 game? Like, what is going on here? Yeah.
No, it's true.
Honestly, this is another thing. I've been playing my PS2 a lot. And this, again, with the Dreamcast, this also happens, where I put a game in it. And this is why it bothers me that people are like, oh yeah, I just bought Rule of Rose for $400. Because if you put a game in a PS2, it makes a sound like it is trying to break it. Actively trying to destroy it. I'm like, how did I ever play this as a child? Like, I put the game in, I turn it on, and I get concerned about the noises that are coming out of this machine.
Yep, dude. That and the PSP. Every time I load up the PSP after a long time, I'm like, oh my god, I forgot this thing is like, what is going on in here? Are they like splitting the atom inside this fucking machine? Like, jeez.
The 1000 model, you try and start a game on that one 15 years later, it feels like it's literally going to just disintegrate in your hands. I don't know how we found that. We found it acceptable at the time because look how awesome the screen is. Look how great Wipeout looks.
I found it acceptable at the time because I was blasting like Eminem's Encore into my eardrums at full volume. I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, fair enough.
I do want to do this because I thought of this when Geoff was giving out his shout outs. Major shout out to Jackbox party packs. Been playing them every weekend with my friends. We get together, we do some Jackbox. Incredible. And that's a game that we'll never talk about on like something like this, but truly making some of the best party games on the market right now. Consistently good.
Yep. They've been doing it for years, man. But now there's kind of been this convergence of tech and deadly virus that has really kind of catapulted them. It's nice. It's nice because, like, you know, I remember even 20 years ago playing You Don't Know Jack.
You Don't Know
those
Jack.
games, and you play them locally, so obviously the reach is limited. But yeah, I'm glad that brand has stuck around for as long as it has, and now they really have kind of the infrastructure to shine. It's really, really good. Very easy to play. Like, it's just it's a good time.
Extremely accessible. You get like 4 or 5 games in every single one. There's at least one game you're going to enjoy in any one you buy. Yeah. So that has been truly a mind sanity saver for me, getting to do that consistently. I just bought, very excited, the Castlevania and Contra collections on
right on.
Nice.
PSN.
Nice.
$5 each. Castlevania has like 8 games on it. I
Dude,
get to play
it's great
Dracula finally. Very excited about that. Contra has 10 games on it, including Probotector and the Probotector sequel, which I'm very excited about. So I got some stuff. I started playing Yakuza 3 because I bought the remastered collection because I played Kiwami 2, got to play 3, 4, and 5. So I'm in that right now. But yeah, that's going to take a while. Like, I kind of just want to start playing Like a Dragon, even though I haven't played all of the other ones, because like Geoff said, it's like, by the time I get through these 3 games, it'll be next year, probably.
I have to assume that when they made Like a Dragon, I have to assume they recognized that it's unreasonable to expect someone new to have played through all 6 of the previous. Yeah. Right? Like, you have to be able to play that as a single standalone, like, new thing and enjoy it.
Yeah. But it's been good, man. It's a good time to be a gamer.
Never better. Never better.
You know? But I think that pretty much wraps it up for us on another excellent What Have You Been Playing? My favorite episodes. Who am I?
How can they not be, man?
Point?
It's no work. You're talking about what you've been playing. Like, this is what we've been doing for decades. You know, just chatting with our buddies about what we've been playing. It's always fun. Always fun.
Exactly. We would do this in like a local playground where I would just be yelling at Paul in public about how he keeps making me play so many goddamn games. But instead we get to do it on the internet.
There we go.
For people who willingly listen to this, and I appreciate every single one of them.
I love them.
Absolutely.
It's still, you know, it'll never cease to amaze me. It really won't. That people enjoy.
And you know what's even more bizarre is that people are willing to pay for that privilege.
Yeah.
To hear this painful chatter come into their, they're even willing to give us money for it.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that we would be getting paid $30,000 a month on Patreon to talk about video games, but you'd be surprised. Maybe you should go check it out and invest in that to the moon. Let's take it to the moon, guys.
To the moon, going straight up. But yeah, I'm so appreciative of the patrons. Like, even we've only been doing it since August, I think, is when we opened up our Patreon, and it's really helped grease the wheels. It really has. Like, a lot of areas where we were previously experiencing friction are now so much smoother, and I feel like going forward we'll be able to make things even better.
But thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, listening, always giving us all your support. If you want to find us, so many ways. If you're already listening to this, I don't know why you would want more of us, but you can find us on Instagram at Region Free Gamers Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Region Free Gamer. Find us on Patreon, patreon.com/Region Free Gamers. You can probably find us on IMDb. You can probably find us on OnlyFans. You can probably find us literally anywhere we could make an account. We've probably made one.
How did you know about my OnlyFans account?
The OnlyFans is where we talk about games, but more sensually. We do ASMRs on OnlyFans. We read game manuals to people really close to the microphone. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Geoff, Paul, a pleasure as always. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks,
thank
Arnie.
you for doing this podcast with me.
Yeah.
And that's it. Thank you so much, guys. Have a nice day. Peace.
I'm a super shy girl who hides in her room all the time. I'll talk through the door, but once I'm on the battlefield, I'll shoot someone through the heart. Don't worry about it. But I'm really worried. But I do like cakes.